Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about kind of two things at the same time that are kind of related. Has to do with a lot of the reason that people on my side of the political spectrum, Juds, for lack of a better term, are pretty far behind when it comes to their goals. And I think part of this is definitely this sentiment we're kind of taught in our early years. And that sentiment is this whole idea of power corrupting you, or kind of a lesser heard idea that good people are content with just living their life and letting everyone else pass by, as long as they got their shack, as long as they got their house and their barbecue or whatever, like a boomer just wants to grill, right? That everything is okay, and that's all you really need to live. And when you think about it, it's kind of a destructive, awful way to live because, that's the whole reason things are as bad as they are. It's that old saying, the only thing evil needs to prosper is for good men to do nothing. These whole sayings, all these things about power corrupts and things like that, they've led good men to doing nothing because they think that's good, because some of us might think when we were little, when we were less wise, we might have thought, "Oh, well, I don't want to become a bad guy. Maybe if I get power." I really hate the saying absolute power corrupts absolutely, because then you're going to have us thinking, "Oh, well, if I get all that power, I'm going to become a bad guy." And in my opinion, that's only partially true. And what I mean by that is that when you have a character, okay, someone with a strong character can definitely handle power. Somebody evil is just gonna, you know, keep doing evil things when they get power. They seek power in order to do evil things. A person with a strong character can handle power and use it to secure it from evil. And then people in the middle, it depends on which way they go. Maybe power might tempt them to do worse things, or maybe power might inspire them to be more serious, to protect the things they love. So that's kind of why I hate that saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. I forget I forget which lesson I heard that from. I think I heard that a lot in school. I remember reading Animal Farm for school, like in high school, and the teacher was talking about, oh, well, the evil pig got all this power, so that's why he got evil. And me personally, I don't think I just don't think that's how it works. I think good people can definitely handle power, and I think bad people purposely spread that message in order to scare well meaning people into not opposing them, pretty much. And, it goes to show with a lot of things. Even old people in my life, older people, sometimes I've had better opportunities. Sometimes I've had opportunities to better myself or get a better position. And some of them have encouraged me to stay where I am, to be complacent with what I have. You know what I mean? To just stay where I am and not seek anything higher because it's greedy or because what I have is good enough. And I just think that's a very harmful way to think. I think, I think it depends on the person. If someone is greedy, maybe they should stop trying to acquire. But I think you got to teach people. I think if your kid is aspiring to more, I don't think you should go, well, you stop trying to acquire more. That's bad. Only bad people try to acquire more. I think you have to instill in your kid that you can gain power, but use it responsibly. Like that's your responsibility to do good with what you have. And it's especially with us Christians. Like I'm a Christian. Like I said, I'm like on the right side. I'm right wing, I'd say. And even in Christianity, it doesn't. People take all these verses out of context. They're like, "Oh well, it says a rich man can't go into heaven." And then like right after that, it says a bunch of stuff. It doesn't mean you can't get into heaven because you're rich. There's a lot of good people in the Bible who have a lot of livestock and a lot of riches. It's not about it's not about richness condemning you to hell. It's about, trusting in God and that being what gets you to heaven. But a lot of people just use verses like that out of context, and they've unfortunately been successfully used against less knowledgeable older people into believing that God commanded us to have like nothing. But I don't think that's the case. I think the case is to just make sure you use it correctly, to make sure it doesn't corrupt you. Don't be a pastor who uses all the offering money to get bling and a huge private jet or whatever like that. And while I know it's harder for us nowadays to acquire wealth than it was for some of our ancestors, I think it just makes it kind of more important for us to try to seek wealth and to seek power and to be even more diligent about using it to help people who are like-minded to us. Because that's what we see all around us. We see all sorts of people, all sorts of bad people chasing power and then raising up other bad people so that altogether they can secure people like us away from things that can stop them. And so, I mean, you see it everywhere. It's pretty much a total lockdown. Well, I don't want to say total lockdown and feel like everything's doomed, but we see it in all sorts of places. We see it in the courts. We have all these judges that are just letting people out. Yeah, I saw something ridiculous. We see a lot of killers. We see a lot of killers get released nowadays under pleas of insanity when they've just outright stabbed people. And it's like, oh well, they're not competent to stand trial. And then you know what I saw? I saw Daniel Larson, that crazy guy that I forget what his deal is. I think he thinks he's a big shot movie star and he keeps threatening people, but he's a crazy guy. It doesn't mean anything, right? He's just a crazy guy. And somehow they found that guy competent to stand trial, but not killers that have shown very clear intent on killing, who've actually harmed, who've actually done harm. Unlike Daniel Larson, who's just been crazy and spouting threats, and he's genuinely crazy. But it's that's just one of the ways that bad people have flipped things around by locking it down. So I just think the rest of us should keep in mind next time we might think, oh well, maybe I should be content. It's not about being content. It's good to be content. If you're content, that's fine. But just know that you can potentially do more good if you chase more. It's not about not chasing more. It's about chasing more for the right reason. It's about avoiding greed, but still seeking, seek power and resources with the same rigor as a greedy person would, but do it with the intent of enabling yourself to help others. You know what I mean? I think if more of us did that, that's just one of the ways I think we could start helping each other more. And it's a bit complicated. It's a bit over my head. This video's gone on pretty long. I actually wanted to talk about a whole nother issue, but I guess that'll wait for next time. So, just stew on that. The whole the whole sentiment around, oh, don't seek power, it's corrupts. Oh, just be complacent with what you have. You don't need to look for a promotion or a better job or more money. You're fine with what you have. And those aren't terrible sentiments on their own, but it's about the possibilities. It's about the competition, which is evil. It's about looking at them in those contexts. Again, nothing wrong with being content with what you have, but just don't act like it's noble in and of itself to not pursue more. And think about what you could do if you hold yourself to the idea of helping others. And well, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. I might just sound kind of crazy to the rest of you. So just let me know what you think in the comments. That's about it. Goodbye.